Well, hello, everybody. Gail Craft here from the Empowering Process podcast. And I have with me a guest who we've been trying to get this happening. So I'm so excited, Rachel Lee. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about not knowing who she is and what it is that she's here for. And I'm not sure if any of you can relate, but I know I can. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Gail. I'm excited to hang out with you today.
Yes, who knows where this conversation will go? Who knows where any and those of you who are watching this, Rachel has cat ears, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And you'll see lots of pink. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But I do love the subject of not knowing who you are. And I think many of us can relate to that at some point in our life, if not for a majority of our lives. I know for me, not only did I not know who I was, but I also felt like nobody knows me. Like if I don't know me, then nobody knows me, right? And what I've come to realize is the only person who knows me is me. So
Absolutely.
let's talk a little bit about your transformation.
Yeah, well, where to begin? I feel like it's such an interesting topic, and I resonated a lot with what you just said because it's true. Only you have the answers to that question. And I feel like we spend most of our lives looking for the answer outside of us, and we lose ourselves in the process of that. We look around at everyone around us, family, friends, colleagues, and we look at how they're living their lives and the people that they've become as a result of their choices. And sometimes you see what you like, you take some of that. Sometimes you see things you don't like, and you're like, I don't want any of that. And I know that that's how we're taught. We are informed by what we see around us. But when you actually sit and block out all of that noise and then just kind of go inside and ask yourself, like, outside of all of this, what do I actually want? And I feel like a lot of us don't ask ourselves that question earlier on in life, and that can lead you down some pretty scary paths, and you don't realize how far down you've gone until you wake up one day, you look around you and you're like, how the hell did I get here? So um yeah, I resonated a lot with what you just shared.
Yes, yes. And so where to begin? So asking or looking for answers outside ourselves. Here's the deal. I think that hasn't stopped for many people who, as adults, seek, and I know I'm probably going to get flack for this, personal development guidance. Now, I've been part of that world.
Yeah.
I was very involved with motivational speakers. I used to crew for them. I worked for them. I did the work, and I saw people not getting any results. And I saw people spending thousands and thousands of dollars. I saw people in tears, families falling apart, looking for answers, looking for answers, looking for answers. And it was frustrating because I sat there saying they're not getting what they need. Why are they not getting what they need? And it really
Mm.
wasn't until I started looking for what I need here within myself. And
Yeah.
that does take guidance, and it does take practice, and it does take a sounding board sometimes or a mirror sometimes. But
Yeah.
until I got real with me, good, bad, and indifferent, I say warts and all,
Yeah.
then answers started coming. So talk about what happened that you realized that you were looking in the wrong places.
I feel like you have to try a lot of things and just to realize what does or doesn't work for you. And that's basically, I'd say that was the story of my life. Growing up, I grew up in a Christian household. I grew up Canadian, but also in a Chinese household. So both of those things combined, it means that I grew up with perfectionistic tendencies and I was really conservative. So I was taught growing up to monkey see, monkey do. I would follow exactly what my parents said. I would go to church every Sunday. I would sit and not talk and not be loud, not take up space, got straight A's. I followed the rule book by the T because I got praised for it. And I think that is a lot of conditioning that I grew up with, where whenever I did something right, people would say, "Oh, what a good girl you are. Oh, what a good student. Oh, what a good daughter. Oh, what a good community member." And I thought that that was the rule book that I lived my life. And everything worked great up until the point where it didn't. And I would say that one of the biggest turning points was I drank the Kool-Aid of go get a stable, well-paying job, work there for 40 years and retire. I drank the Kool-Aid all the way up until that point. And it worked until I realized that I wasn't happy at what was supposed to be my dream job. It's like one of those moments where you plan your life up until a certain point and you think that this is supposed to be it. This is the peak of your Mount Everest. And when you get to the top and you look around and you realize, oh my God, this is a really shitty view. Like, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but like,
Oh, absolutely. Or, holy shit,
yeah.
there's another mountain for me to climb.
Exactly. It was just, I mean, I was 24 when I got to this realization. In the grand scheme of things, still very young. I count that as my quarter life crisis, where I got my first, I would say, full time, well paying job. It was supposed to be my dream job. I was working as a graphic designer full time at a local marketing company. And growing up as a kid, I was the art kid. In my mind, that's all I wanted. I wanted to make things for a living. So, in my mind, when I landed this job, I had made it. And what I didn't realize though is even a few months into this job, I realized that I was missing something. I thought that it would check off all the boxes. I mean, yes, I was sitting in front of a computer making things every single day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. But what was missing that I didn't realize that was a key piece to my fulfillment was the fact that I didn't get to talk to people. And when I sat and really looked at this, I realized that what actually made me happy was being able to talk to people, listen to what is the problem that or the challenge that they're facing, and then come up with a creative design solution. For me, so it turns out, design is not an artistry thing, it's problem solving, it's creative problem solving, and it's coming up with a solution that is very much about going inside someone's head, extracting that whatever it is and then turning it into something visually that they can see that solves whatever challenge or problem it was for them, and then seeing the impact that it makes in their life. And that's just a small example of what actually makes me happy. But all in short, I didn't find that at my job. And that was kind of like a rude awakening where I thought if I drank all the Kool-Aid, I checked off all the boxes, I would be happy. And so it turns out that I wasn't. So when I found myself in this position, I knew that something needed to change. And I didn't know what it was because I don't have a single entrepreneur in my family. It was not within my perception that I could do my own thing outside of the traditional employment scene. So it wasn't until one of my best friends asked me just a simple question of, hey, well, Rachel, you work in a creative industry. It's really easy to just do a few side gigs. Why don't you try and do your own thing? And I remember it was a very simple question, but it made me stop. Like, not even just like the idea of self-employment, but just why don't you try and do your own thing? That was a question that kind of triggered something in me of, oh, you mean I could try something that wasn't taught to me before by someone else? I could just explore and do something different. Like it kind of triggered something in my mind because I grew up, like I said, following instructions and having things fed to me. Rachel, if you want to be happy, here's how you should live. Here's what you should do. Here are the boxes you should tick off. So it never occurred to me until I had that simple question asked to me. And that actually spurred a lot of things where I eventually, I did try a bunch of side gigs on the side of my full-time job, realized I liked it a lot more, switched into full-time self-employment at the start of 2019, got into the world of business, also did that thing where I looked around at what everyone else was doing because art kid here in this corner, they don't teach art kids anything about business in art school. So
No.
I went in with the beginner's mindset. I looked around at everyone and, monkey see, monkey do. Like these people look like they know what they're doing. So I'm going to copy them. And I copied people for the first 3 years of my business, realizing that, oh, wait, that's not the way that I want to run my business.
Right.
Everyone was suit and tie, semi-formal attire, spoke like robots. I followed that down to the T and got to the point where I realized I was presenting myself in a way that was so out of integrity that something needed to change. So I'm going to stop here because I've been monologuing, but that's the catalyst of what catapulted me in this direction.
It's very, very interesting. So I took getting fired from corporate before I finally became an entrepreneur. But the same thing, I had no entrepreneur really in my family, and who do I
Mm,
turn to? And I paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get the right coach, to get the right whatever. And I used to you have to wear the colors of your logos. You have to wear a skirt, heels, and jacket. You right completely like it's corporate again. It's still corporate. And I did those
yeah,
things and I'm like, I'm sorry, when I speak on stage, honey, I'm in a t-shirt, it's flip-flops and jeans because
yeah,
that's who I am.
heck
What am I
yes.
doing right now? I have jeans on and a t-shirt, right?
Yeah.
Right? I'm barefoot, not flip-flops. And so it took a major loss. I had 5 coaches. I was developing a program, the funnel bullshit, by the way, which is also crap. But at that time, marketing campaigns, the whole 9 yards, and I got nothing,
Mm,
zero. And after spending all that money, all of that time and effort,
yeah.
I was in tears. And then, I fired all my coaches. Yeah, I don't need you, don't need you, don't need you, except for my personal trainer, kept him.
Yeah.
And I realized, just like you, that that's not me. I'm just representing them, and they already exist. So I'm lost in the shuffle,
Yeah.
right? So who am I and where's my voice? So the next thing for me was well, what's your voice? No one ever asked me
Mm,
that question,
yeah.
right? Right? Who am I? And that took a little more time to figure out who am I. And that
Yeah.
changes because I change. We all evolve, right?
Me
Um,
too.
the core hasn't changed. The core absolutely hasn't changed because I'm here of service. And I will say, Rachel, one of the things that you said that it really resonates with me. Why do I love what I do? Because I'm very selfish. I love watching my client light bulb go on. It
Yeah.
feeds me. So by me feeding them, they feed me. And it really is. I'm in this for the selfishness of having joy with what I do.
Yes. And I mean, I'm a huge advocate of drinking your own Kool-Aid. And for me going into the world of personal branding and wanting to help people capture and present themselves authentically online, it stemmed from a desire for me to do that for myself, where after the 3 years of looking around at everyone else, copying them, realizing that it wasn't for me, I ended up scrapping my business brand and going online as me, Rachel, and deciding to do the brave and scary thing and show my face on the internet, share about my personal life, end up ditching all of my suits. I don't say that I burned all of my professional attire, but it's somewhere deep, deep, deep in my closet in a dark, dusty corner that I don't ever touch
I have one
unless
black
it's
skirt, one jacket, and one white shirt. They're getting
exactly
dusty.
right.
They're getting dusty.
They're getting dusty. Yeah, like all of those things, I decided that isn't me. And I want to show myself to the world in a way that I've never allowed myself to show up before. And I'm going to redefine what professionalism looks and feels like for me and show up in a way where I'm just adding my personality to what I do. It doesn't take away from the amazing service I provide for my clients. It doesn't take away from my professionalism. It actually allows me to show up in fullness for my clients. And that's what they're paying for anyway. So when I started to show myself online in my personal brand, I realized that there was something really powerful there. And that actually spurred me to turn this into a service that I provide for my client. So, like I said, it's like I saw this as something that benefited me. It worked amazingly, and it feels like I'm able to show up and not hold back. Like I throughout my formal attire, I show up to all of my professional calls in cat ears. That is how I roll. That's basically how I do it. I have pink all over my background. I have all of my nerdy shit in the background too. You see like Pokemon, you see
Yep.
Minecraft, you see all of the things, because that's the side of me that people connect with. And if you think about what business is, it's just people helping people. Business is a vehicle that facilitates that, and it can come in many ways, but it's about people helping people. And when it comes to that, it requires connection. I don't care how good you are at what you do. I need to feel connected with you as a human being and have a certain level of trust before I decide to say yes to what you have to offer. So when it comes to creating connection, you have to give some to receive some. You got to show a little bit of who you are. It's not just straight about, okay, here's my service compared to the business next door. I check off more of these boxes than them, and I offer it for a lower price. It's a race to the bottom if you go in that direction. So,
You know,
yes.
I did a one-to-one with someone one time, and they actually asked me, "How are you different than so and so?"
Yeah,
And I didn't know how to answer that
it's a
because
hard
first of
question.
all, I don't know what that person does. I've never experienced their service.
Yeah,
And why would I compare myself to another person in the same industry as me? I don't
yeah,
care what they do. They do their thing, I
yeah,
do mine, right? And so I
exactly.
realized that this was definitely not the client for me. And that's another thing is it took
Mm,
hard lessons for me to learn to say no to the money because the money on the table that I said yes
mm,
to that I shouldn't have means I'm not
yeah,
giving enough time to the money that could have been on the table. That's the perfect person,
exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
I've learned
And
to say no, thank you, but I'll find you the right coach.
yeah, and I feel like the more that you understand what works for you, the easier it is to make those decisions. Because for me, whenever people ask me a very typical business question, who's your ideal customer? When I answer them, I mean exactly, I do the eye roll and I'm like, it's not a specific demographic. I work with people who want to bring their full selves to what they do. And
Yep.
that means that they're showing up in a way that feels like it's only about 50%. It's the professional side, but they have this deep desire to infuse this other side of them. It's so much you, like the fun side, the quirky side, the spicy side. They want to find a way to actually bring that to the table because they know that their clients are looking for it and they know that they're underserving them, but only showing up as that suit and tie corporate professional that I'm sorry, nobody wants to work with you. There's a bunch of you on the internet. Nobody wants to work with you
Even if
because
you're
you
an
all look
insurance
the
man, they don't
same.
want to work with you, right?
I'm sorry, you all look the same. If you follow the standard, you don't stand out. But what they tell you is if you don't follow the standard, you're not being professional. So you're stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And I hate to break it to you, but if people don't see you, you can't get their business. That's just how it works. So
Yeah.
yeah, like I want to work with people who fully want to embrace and celebrate their difference because I personally believe that's the only way to go. We do business on the internet nowadays. It's so saturated that there is no other way to do it. That's what I believe anyway.
Absolutely. And I will say that 100% of the people that I work with are people that resonate with me. It,
Yeah.
right? And so they resonate with me before they reach out to me, right?
Yes.
They already know about me. Why? Because I write a lot on social media and I now put videos out there almost daily, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes they'll be quirky, and sometimes they'll be serious, right? But the videos are, hey, I had this weird question come, so I'm going to share it with you today. Blah. What do you think about, purple skies? Whatever the question is, I'll put it out there. And that's it. I'm not going to answer the question for you. I'm just going to put it out there, right? Because my intention is to get you to think, right? And so people who see that know that if they work with me, I'm going to get them to think. And so if you're afraid of that, I'm not the right guide. right? Not the right person for you. But if you're looking for answers, you don't get answers unless you ask the right questions. And I'll
It's
help
very
you find
true.
the questions for you, right? And
Yeah.
so you're in this amazing business now, and what's next for you? What do you think you want to be doing next?
That's a question that I've actually been sitting on for a long time. And I think the answer that I'm going to give is something that it took a lot of courage for me to get to this point because it's very different from what most business owners will answer, which is I want to scale my business and get a bunch of employees. And, like it's not the typical answer that most business owners will give. And I think it goes back to the question of identity, where when I sat down and asked myself, okay, well, who is Rachel? Like, who do I want to be? Like, those are the questions that really keep me up at night. It's
Right.
yes, the business is important, but that's in support of my personal development as a human being. And I kind of resonate with you when you said it's kind of a selfish thing because the thing that makes me happy at the end of the day is, am I happy with the person that looks back at me in the mirror at the end of the day? Every
Right.
single day. That's the thing
Right.
that concerns me.
Right.
So when I answer this question, I'm actually going to say, yes, I do want to get my business to a certain point where I have more than enough to take care of my needs and the people around me, and also have the time to be able to step away and do my own thing. But the thing that I actually want to do is I actually want to build my personal brand as an artist and content creator. And I eventually want to be able to step away from my business, creating for other people, to create art and content that is an authentic expression of who I am, where I want to continue exploring my identity and create work that inspires and empowers people to embrace their own authenticity. I want to invite people to be as weird and wacky and as crazy as you actually are, because you're not doing the world a service by holding back. And I want to create content doing that. I want to get into streaming, and I'm going to do all of the weird things. I'm going to like eventually create a it's one of my dreams to create a clothing line that actually inspires and empowers people. I think, and this is as far as I've dreamed it, it's definitely going to be a streetwear brand, but it's going to be probably more targeted towards a female audience. And it's going to inspire and empower a lot of females who feel like they've been hemmed into this box of, in order to be considered like a real girl, you need to be super femme, makeup and high heels and long flowing hair. I grew up as a tomboy. You could see a bunch of hats hanging on my shelf in the background. The streetwear brand is probably going to be like, yeah, this is for girls, but this is I fully embrace. I fully want to encourage you to embrace the side of you that is cool and badass. And you could be that girl that walks down the street where people look at you and it's like, ah, shit, I don't want to mess with her. Like, she's cute, but oh God, I don't want to get on her bad side, right? Like, I want to create content and create things that inspire people to embrace the side of themselves that they've been shying away from embracing, that people have told them that is too much or too loud or too different, and just to step further into it. So I want to eventually move into just creating content that comes from my heart without really, honestly, any business objectives. Right now, I create things for people for a living. I help people step further into that by helping them build their personal brand. I'll probably still continue to do that, but in a more limited capacity as I grow my brand. But eventually, I want to segue just into fully embracing my artistry side, becoming a content creator, and creating a message and making things that reaches many, many more people. Because with the business, when I do one-on-one services, it's only going to reach so many people. My reach is limited, but I look forward to the day when I could just create content and just have fun being a big kid and inviting other people to also embrace that side of themselves as well.
I have to share with you that I've had a client who has a similar upbringing to you that
Yeah,
ended up being a pharmacist because this is what her family told her she should do.
yeah.
Hated it. And her dream, her passion was to paint murals. She is now
Oh,
painting murals. She is now painting murals and is no longer a pharmacist. And
wow.
yes, yes. And she started her and her family, they gave her money to buy a place that she needed to renovate for to be Airbnb. This was in San Diego by, I think it was by Pacific Beach. I'm not sure which beach.
Yeah.
And she played with murals in every room, beach
Oh,
theme
wow.
murals with every room. And
Yeah.
that is, and then she, it was on Airbnb and it started to get some exposure and she started to get some inquiries, right?
Yeah.
And so this is what she does. And she's like all over San Diego now. It's just awesome. Awesome.
I'll have
Right?
to go visit one day. I'm on the West Coast too, just up in Vancouver. So it's just a trip down south for me to go check it out.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
I should probably connect you with her. So let me see if she's
Yeah.
interested in connecting.
Absolutely. That is so cool, though.
Yep.
I have so much respect for people who do murals. It's one of my dreams to learn how to actually do graffiti art for real. Like, that is definitely an art style that I do. Most of the art that I do is digital, though. So, one of the things that I want to venture into is actually learning how to physically spray paint and do up a wall. So, yeah, that would just be super cool. Even if your client just paints the murals, just to get connected with those types of people, like that would be so amazing.
Yeah, I love when she's painting something. So I will reach out and see if she probably will say yes, for sure. So Rachel, if someone wanted to know more about your story, get in touch with you, or maybe, give you some insights on how to get into the next level of your life and your business, how would they get in touch with you?
I'm pretty much all over the internet. The best places to reach me would either be Instagram or LinkedIn. My handle's the same across both of them. It's Rachel T.Y. Lee. And when people ask me, fun fact about why do you have T.Y. in the middle? Your name's just Rachel and your last name's Lee. It's because my name is very, very common. And so I have to put my middle name initials in the middle in order for me to be found on the internet. But otherwise, just send me an email. My email is rachel@racheltyley.com. That's the fastest way to get through to me, since, as we know with social media, there's often a lot of notifications and some things can get lost in the shuffle. So we'll make sure that those links are available in the show notes so then you can get in touch with me afterwards.
Absolutely, for sure. And thank you, everybody, for listening to the Empowering Process podcast and this story with Rachel. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you know someone who maybe could benefit from this discussion, share it out to them. And as always, please do subscribe so you know when the next episode is available. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rachel. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Gail. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.